Okay, hey guys, and welcome back. So, we've been playing around with our Warlock here, our Cleave slash Mirrored Blades build, and we've swapped out some gear. So, we got rid of the Treachery for a Twitch Thor with the increased attack speed jewel, and we swapped our charms out. We had some life skillers for Eldritch skills, we swapped them out for max damage AR life charms, right? As well as the mini ones. So we're just going to try out a variety of weapons. I also got this armor because I could drop down my dexterity points now, and I can either choose to invest in strength for more damage or vitality for more survivability. It's really up to me. Gonna go down to Travancore here. We'll do all our power-ups. Okay, so we've got right now Bane for the magical damage. This is player's 8 hell, guys. And we're using it with destruction, and we're just gonna see how powerful this is. This is very powerful, guys. This is player's 8, and you know, these guys are just dropping like flies. Wow. That's madness. I'm surprised I survived all that. The mirror blades with destruction just seems like, I don't know, ridiculously overpowered. It seems to cast non-stop. I would definitely be curious to capitalize on that and see with like an infinity merc or even an infinity summon like demon summon, see if it would capitalize on that volcano and hydra spawn, because my god, that is just wow. Or not hydra, but whatever it's spawning there. Molten boulder, that's the other one. Yeah, that's wild. If this is player's 8 hell, guys. I took off my Drax. I've just got these crafted crushing blow. I am just dominating. Player's 8 go night night, I guess. Wow. If I was to do a build around destruction, which now is looking extremely appealing, I must say, I would do it in such a way that I would capitalize on that fire damage, right? So you would keep your individual attack magic damage from your Hex Bane as far as your build. Like, you would keep your build just the same. He would still be a Hex Bane or a Bane Hexer. Except that when it came to your outfit, instead of focusing on like crushing blow, deadly strike, things of that nature, we would capitalize on the additional fire damage provided by those steady volcanoes and molten boulders, and I guess mostly volcanoes. Yeah, 23% chance. Well, there's your reason why. No wonder. Wild. Plus the additional magic damage and everything else. This thing's crazy. And it has a deadly strike. So I mean, you're welcome to stick with the deadly strike. I see it has deadly strike on it. It does have decent damage, so it's not like it would hurt you to keep these items on. The point I'm trying to make is, okay, you can keep these two. It's not like there's much fire gear you could slot out for these, but this one I would maybe take out and do like a flickering flame, right, to capitalize on some of that volcano damage. The Storm Shield I would leave because it's the most defensive. However, if you do a Twitch Thor build, let's see, I'm curious. If you do a Twitch Thor build like I've done, yeah, you can actually do that, and then you can equip Phoenix Monarch. Not only will this boost your physical damage by just an absurd amount, but then you also get the minus 28 to fire resistance. So these two make the perfect pair. And I would highly recommend that actually, that you upgrade your Twitch Third twice to an Elite, which is Wire Fleece, for that extra defense. The requirements don't go up by much, right? You already have 156 strength from the Monarch, so you can easily equip this at 111 strength. I put an increased attack speed and enhanced damage jewel. You could just put, honestly, whatever your heart's desire. If you want a Burr Rune for the damage reduction, if you want a increased or enhanced damage jewel just to be, you know, even more over the top, although it's not necessary. If you want to do like an rune for resist, you can do that. Same thing here, guys. If you keep this helm, you don't have to have a jewel like mine, especially not when you're going with the Destruction Phoenix build. You're better off with an rune for resistances or something like that. This is pretty standard in a lot of Warlock builds. I would keep it personally. I can't think of a much better slot in there except for like Maras and things like that, but they're not better. They're almost as good as High Lords because of the Deadly Strike, increased attack speed, and 1-tall skills. Lightning resist and the extra damage and things like that is just butter on the toast at that point, right? What else can I tell you guys? This thing just completely shreds. I'm blown away by Destruction and just how feasible it is. Like this might be a new build here too, boys. You know, a bit of a meme build, but well, no, it's not a meme build because it wrecks. Meme builds don't really wreck. Yeah, this is just carnage. Let's test it out elsewhere. Let's see what happens. Gotta make sure the Hexbane's on there always, and go. Yeah. It procs those volcanoes damn near instant. That's so wild. Interesting drop, but this is single player, so I don't really need it. I'd love to see what one of these would do on a druid with a fully synergized volcano. I bet you'd be pretty dope. Yeah, absolute mayhem. So this is player's 8. Because of all of the volcano action that this procs, it really keeps the monsters stun locked. And as a result, they really can't get you. And honestly, Twitch Sword does its thing. Phoenix Monarch works great. You get the max block still. Like, this is very viable. If you wanted to go the Dracools in here, you can, but I just prefer this. I don't find I need the Dracools. He survives, you know, like, offense is the best defense, and he's so damn offensive that they don't really get a chance to beat on him. Okay, just for everyone wondering, let's see how the Grief does. I'm sure it'll perform fantastically. Let's make a new game. And just for fun, we'll put the Grief with the Phoenix for the boosted damage as well, because why not? We still get to keep our block rating. Okay guys, this is absurd. This is player's 8. Needless to say, Grief is best in slot. You just cannot compete with Grief. You can try to compete with Grief, right? But it's absurd how good this thing is. Player's 8, hell difficulty. Absolute destruction. Absolute mayhem. Yeah, nothing stands up to grief. Okay, we already knew that. I was even debating whether I was going to showcase the grief or not, because it's kind of like, well, duh. Especially when you got a solid grief like that, right? A perfect roll. Yeah, perfect roll, grief, feast your eyes, superior base, very nice. Okay, let's try some other things. Let's keep this moving. Did we try Last Wish yet? I don't think we have. So let's try Last Wish. Gonna need a new game. That was very safe and very fun. Safe because you have the chance to cast life tap at 10%, which is huge for proc. 6% chance to cast 11 fade, and you do get a 20% charge, 20% chance to cast level 20 charge bolt there, which is still something. It does add up, believe it or not. So a huge crushing blow. You know, the Might Aura just makes it so it gives you even that much more damage. It's absurd all in all, for being honest, guys. Let's see here. Yeah, the Firestorm procs are pretty wild from the Torch as well. I'll be honest with you guys, for the amount of runes you need to invest in Last Wish, I wouldn't bother. Like, this is all very nice, you know, I get the beefed up resistances, the additional, what is it, 11% damage reduction, all the things that come with the Fade, right? The Fade is nice, the life tap is nice, the crushing blow is nice, the damage is nice, you know, you get a bit of magic find. Like, this is all around an incredible weapon, don't get me wrong, right? I think that a lot of debate has been made about Last Wish, but for the pure investment of runes, especially I'm looking at those 3 Jaw runes and the Burr rune, those are very hard to come by, especially on ladder, especially early days. So I wouldn't fault you for just skipping over this one. You know, it's fun, I'm not gonna lie, it's very powerful both offensively and defensively. Is it the best in slot? That's to be debated, probably not, to be honest. So I wouldn't lose sleep over not being able to make this. If you can make it and you're Mr. Moneybags Richie Rich, oh look at me, king of the castle, okay, go ahead and make it, enjoy your Last Wish Phase Blade, mister. And I do recommend the Phase Blade base again for the pure attack speed and the indestructible inherent mod. Otherwise, don't bother, right? That's pretty decent damage, believe it or not, for Phase Blade. So that did great. Now next we're gonna try Death. Alright, so Death here normally goes in ethereal items. However, Phase Blades can't spawn as ethereal. But again, that damage is pretty decent if you look at it overall at the 400% mark, which would mean a perfect roll plus a superior base, right? But regardless, this is all fantasy, you know, you can use a lower one, it's not a problem. So Death Phase Blade, right? Just look at those statistics and think about how well those will pair up with Mirrored Blades and Cleave, given that most of your damage now is coming from the magical damage on Hexbane. So you get huge enhanced damage, you get a huge proc of 25% there for level 18 Glacial Spike, however you say that. You get a bit of an AR boost, you get some lightning damage, you get a mana leech, which is always welcome. You get a huge boost to crushing blow, so right now you're going to be sitting at 100% between all your gear. And you get a huge boost to Deadly Strike, which again you're going to be sitting at probably 100%. No, you are going to be sitting at 100% now between all your gear. So Death really rounds out your percentages. as well as gives you a nice proc, as well as gives you, again, just great damage. I really can't argue with this. The indestructible mod is wasted since phase blades are inherently indestructible, but again, that doesn't mean you shouldn't make it, right? You shouldn't look at things that way. Oh, well, it's wasted, so, you know, it's better not do it. Yeah, it's wasted on the phase blade, but the phase blades still make for incredible bases for death, right? And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I'm willing to bet that a death phase blade and a death grief are quite close as far as performance wise when you factor everything in. Okay, without further ado, we're testing out death right now. Let's see how it does. Yeah, I mean, it's just making absolute mincemeat of these guys. So beyond just our damage, again, most of this is magic, you have to remember, so it's quite a bit of magic damage, right? How much are we getting? I can tell you right now. Hex Bane, you're getting an additional 2,000 to 3,000 magic damage per hit. That could go up if you get skill charms. Mine's only level 25, right? I could get skill charms to make that go way up. I think I had it near almost the 5,000 mark, right? You can really push it. All depends how you want to play. For me, 2,000 is plenty considering how fast I'm hitting. And with death, I'll show you guys my percentages. We're getting, let's see here, 110% crushing blow, so that's already overkill, right? Don't need it to be that high. And we're also hitting for, where's our deadly strike? 105 deadly strike. Again, 5% over, just like 10% over crushing blow, 5% over. That's overkill. You don't need it to be that high. Anything over 70, 75, you're basically at 100. If you want to go for the full 100 just to be cool, you can. This I find is already overkill. Also, this deadly strike continues to go up based on your level, and I'm only 86, so I mean, there's still room. That deadly strike may very well go to be like 110, 115 when all is said and done. So perhaps I can drop something like my G-Face eventually, right? Those are still nice stats, even without the G-Face. Or maybe I want to wear different boots. Again, those are still in the 90s, right? So death really opens up some of your other equipment slot options. If you wanted maybe a different amulet, I could deal with 73 deadly strike. That's plenty, honestly. You really don't need more than that. So death is very viable, again, because you're getting the bulk of your damage from Hexbane, so you don't have to worry that this only hits for 155 to 175. It absolutely destroys player's 8. That's all you have to know. It's the way that the weapon synergizes with the skill, right? And again, surprisingly, death has no increased attack speed, but just by being in a phase blade base, it's already so fast and so powerful, right? So strong, so big. Okay, so what else can I try out for you guys here? I did get a couple other items here I wanted to try out for you guys. So one of them is this Dreadfang, which is, as I'm sure you guys know, one of the new uniques. Sorry if I seem distracted. I'm kind of, doing things as we go along here. This is one of the new uniques. I got it in ethereal form with a Zod rune. Just wanted to see how it performs. We'll keep our setup here. I got rid of the Dracul's gloves, or else the chance to proc curses will cancel one another out, right? It will override one another, which you don't want. So we're just going to make a new game. I'm willing to bet, if I'm a betting man, I'm willing to bet, even though this is not a phase blade, which is what I've been trying to drive home all night, it's still very fast. It still has that 33 increased base. We still have some increased speed on our other gear, like this, and this, right? We could go for more, and this as well. We could put increased attack speed on our belt if we wanted. We could do different things for more attack speed, but let's just see how it performs. So there it is with the magic damage on. We'll drop a sigil. This is player's 8. Yeah, it's just like I thought, guys. Absolute massacre. And really, when you're doing something like this, it is best to use an item like this, because it has built-in amplified damage at 33% chance to strike. When you're using mirrored blades, you're gonna proc that constantly, so you don't have to rely on your mercenary or anything else, or your summoned demon, whatever the case may be, in order to proc like amp or decrypt for you. You can just do it yourself right from your weapon. I would say this is the upgraded version of Lawbringer in a phase blade, right? Like if you made that phase blade Lawbringer that I showed you guys in the previous video, I'll show you what I mean. Which again is still a great option because amp damage will give you more damage, but it won't slow demons. So if I was playing hardcore mode, again, I make these videos for everybody, including our hardcore community. I was a big part of that community for many years. I was playing hardcore even up until last season. But anyway, Phaseblade Lawbringer, right? The damage isn't there quite like it is with Dreadfang, but that's okay. You still get damage from your Hexbane, I want to remind you. You get that flat damage in the form of those 2 elemental damages. You also get Life Leech. You get Monsters Rest in Peace, which is an amazing mod to have on the Warlock. You get the Sanctuary Aura, which is an amazing mod to have on any character, especially when you're doing Chaos Sanctuary and stuff like that. That really just completely owns the undead and like ghosts and stuff like that. Any kind of skeleton or like ghostly characters. And then the most important of all is that 20% chance for 15 decrypt. That procs constantly on this build, and it makes it not only that your damage really like beefs up by a lot, your physical damage at least, but which is great when you've got things like this, right? Your damage doesn't have to come from weapon only, but it's especially great that it slows down the monsters. So for some of you guys that are new, maybe you haven't seen my other video, I'll put that on swap. I'll show you how that works too. So let's just make a new game right now. So we're going to move away from our Dreadfang for a second over to our Lawbringer, just so I can show you guys how much it procs first of all, and how slow the enemies become. Okay, you see these guys, is it working? Am I tripping? I feel like they are decryptified. Maybe these guys are just like extra fast, that's why. Okay. I knew something was weird. Yeah, those guys were extra fast, so it really, you couldn't tell when they were cursed and then decrypt. Let's try these guys down here. But anyway, in most cases, right, where monsters are just regular, see? You see how much slower they attack and everything? It really slowed them right down. So this is still player Z, guys. You see that cleave is still taking them out. I'm still using Lawbringer, right? I'm still using Lawbringer. I'm still playing Player's 8 Hell, right? Player's 8 and Hell. And we did all that with a Lawbringer. So this is why I want to really drive the point home. It's fun to have, you know, the Last Wish and the Death and the whatever. They all play differently. They're all fun to have. But if you have a spare Lem Co-Rune and a 3-socketed Phase Blade, then you have everything you need more or less, right? Like these are easy enough items to farm, right? You have everything you need more or less to clear Player's 8 solo, right? Whether it's a terrorized zone, whether it's a boss, it really doesn't matter, guys. And let's see with the Lawbringer what our stats are. So with this specific gear set, even with the Lawbringer, you're still hitting for 60% crushing blow. That's if you have the crafted 10% crushing blow gloves, and 62% deadly strike. Those are both 10% over 50, which is half the time. So to me, this is to say almost like more than 1 and 2 swings will be crushing blow and double damage. And that's why such a low damage weapon can clear players 8 hell. The most difficult content, these guys can probably do Ubers, I really wouldn't be surprised, is simply that when you factor in, you know, the little bit of physical you get from the charms and everything like that is being doubled by the deadly strike, it all adds up, right? And then you get the crushing blow, which does very well against monsters and elites. And then on top of all that, you're getting the magical damage from Bane Hex. And as you guys have seen in these demos, I don't have a summon or chain demon, and I'm not using my mercenary. So, you know, I validate for you guys in the game. I show you it's player's 8. I show you it's hell. I show you he barely takes a scratch most of the time. If I heal up, it's like 1 potion. You know, it's one of these regular couple points potions. I don't have any full juves or anything, so, you know, I don't have any secrets in the back that are healing my character or whatever. It's just purely if you know what you're doing, if you have the 75 block, if your resistances, the ones that count anyway, which are fire and lightning, are decent, things like that. If you follow those basics, you can be unstoppable even on players 8 hell. But I have to say, this has been probably my favorite so far, is the Ethereal Dreadfang. It didn't seem like much when they first announced it, but for this build in particular, which is also my favorite Warlock build now, it really is the perfect weapon, because you get 33% chance for amp damage, which means no one can be immune to you in the entire game. That alone makes this #1 choice. Then you get some decent enough enhanced damage. A perfect roll can be up to 166. Then you get some attack rating bonus. You get Mono Leech, which is very nice. So if you're using like really any skill, including up to Echoing Strike, it will be self-maintained through that Mono Leech. So that's nice. But we're not talking about Echoing Strike. When you're using Mirrored Blades or Cleave, that will be self-sufficient, right? But thanks to that Mono Leech. You get the additional 33 Deadly Strike, which pairs well with your G-Face, your High Lords, and your Gore Rider. And then on top of it all, you do get 3 to Mirrored Blades. So I guess they knew that this would be probably best in slot, or at least among the best in slot competitors for Mirrored Blades. It really is. It's a fantastic item. Let's see what our Deadly Strike is like with it. 95 Deadly Strike. So that's my point, guys. So if you're using this, I do think, honestly, my vote, considering even Last Wish and Grief and everything, my vote, believe it or not, goes to Dreadfang, because for the cost of a Zod rune, right? If you happen to have this Ethereal, you're completely 100% utterly unstoppable. And that's just awesome, you know, that's just a great feeling to have. It's great to know that you can A to Z the entire game and literally no one can do anything. You know, I wonder if we have... Yeah, we do. Okay, I'm gonna do something crazy, but I'm gonna try the Ubers. Why not? I keep tooting my own horn about how great this character is. Well, he hardly has any resistances, but we're gonna try the Ubers. Let's see, guys. Let's see what happens. This should be interesting. So again, we can't use our Dracules, which normally I would prefer to for something like Ubers, because we have this amp damage we have to consider, right? So, okay, here we go. Get all our buffs up here, guys. Maybe we'll put Mirrored Blades, and we'll keep, where's Lethargy Sigil? There it is, we'll keep Lethargy on. Right click. So there we go. You wanna this is player's 8, by the way, guys. Yeah, see, I just don't have the resistances, unfortunately. Okay, let's get back to town. I wonder if I was to use the Dracules in conjunction with this, even though one would override the other, I wonder if it would still just be more helpful, you know? Like, I wonder if it would improve my survivability. Let's find out. Okay, so Mephisto's in here. Let's see. Yeah. He's He's just not optimized right now for the Ubers. Whoops, I didn't mean to go into Nightmare. He's just not optimized right now for the Ubers. I'd have to reconsider, like, it would have to be something like this. He would have to have a Storm Shield on, and instead of, let's see, what other options? What other good options do we have here? Instead of Twitch Thor, he would definitely need a better armor. I'm just having a hard time deciding what that better armor would be. For now, I think Fortitude is really as good as it. Well, we do have the Enigma. Okay, let's see now. Let's see what our resistances are doing in hell with the Fortitude. You'd need, honestly, your best chance would be like a Chains of Honor or something, I think, in this slot. It would suit this build most for trying to... Well, that's better. At least my lightning is full. Okay, let's give that another go. And do I have 75? Yes, I do. Okay, let's give that another go. I'll probably still die miserably, guys. You know, don't get too excited. But who knows? Oh yeah, that's right. I can't use it, and maybe we do want the crushing, or maybe we don't. Can't use it in this act. I have to be in the right act for it. Okay, let's see what happens now. Okay, the minions go down easily enough. I'm just trying to get to him. Oh god. Yeah, no chance. So I just don't have the resistances and set up for Ubers yet, so what I would say is it's an incredibly strong build to play players 8 regular content. I wouldn't bother with like Colossal Ancients or Uber Tristram or anything like that with that build until we've had time to optimize it. I'm sure there's a way to make him super, just like a super survivor. Where maybe he procs like life tap often, maybe there's no amp damage, maybe he just makes use of the magic damage as well as the little bit of physical that he has on him and stuff like that. I obviously didn't test that before making this video, or I wouldn't have you know, bothered making it if I knew he was gonna die so pitifully in Ubers. But the thing with the Ubers is they hit you hard for elemental damage as well as magic damage, and unless you're built to take it, you just go down fast. Like, my fire and poison resistances alone are going to cost me my life in Uber Tristram. You just can't go in unprepared like that, right? Normally I would maybe let like the Fade from Pretry proc first and then, you know, get some resistance stacking that way. Then I would wear either this Fortitude or maybe even the Enigma to zip around. Like, I wonder what that's like. Let's swap it out. I think we do have an Enigma here somewhere. I thought I saw one Enigma. Swap that out. We'll even swap that out again. Do we have one last set to try it with? I believe we do. Great. This is single player, so it's not like I'm wasting these or anything, guys. I can get them endlessly. It's not a problem. Okay. Lawbringer. Alright, let's see what happens, guys. Wish me luck. Gotta get some more potions on our belt. So the question now is, maybe the trick is to try to use the Lawbringer for the decrypt. Let's try that first. Yeah, and Mephisto has that conviction as well, which really just... I'm not built for it. It's clear I'm not built for it. Yeah, Mephisto and that Conviction aura, like, I mean, unless you really have your resistances stacked up nice and high, there's just no point. Straight up, there's no point. Okay, well, we tried, and, you know, like, it was fun. But anyway, this build absolutely shreds when you're playing single player content up to players 8. Like, just absolutely eviscerates. As you could see in the beginning of the video. For Ubers, there's clearly some things like, you know, all of my inventory is damage charms, basically. Maybe I need to be putting resistance charms. Maybe instead of the Twitch, I need to be wearing a Chains of Honor. Maybe instead of the Storm Shield, I need a Sanctuary Runeward Shield. Maybe I should be wearing a Kiara's for the helm, for the resistances, things like that, or Kira's, whatever. Kira's Tiara, that's what I meant to say. You know, maybe the weapon is a Silence Phase Blade for the 75 resistances that come with that, right? Different ways to get those resists to be able to do Ubers. I'm obviously not optimized for Ubers, but as far as like solo play is concerned, players 8, you know, you just want to get in there, mop up a little bit, you know, collect your goods and move on to the next game. This is your build, as you can see, not a scratch on him, extremely efficient. Get really high magic damage from Hexbane and the synergies, and then you also have the amp damage, which allows you to leech no matter what, including from physical immunes, because it breaks their immunity. It increases your physical damage, which in turn increases your life and mana leech. You know, when your damage doubles, it increases that damage thanks to amp damage as well. There's just lots of benefits from using Dreadfang and having that damage on there. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I mean, I took my eyes off the prize for a second there. Basically, the moment you stop hitting and engaging in battle, you die because you stop leeching back life, right? Essentially is how it works. When you're on players 8 hell difficulty, which I am, right? If you're playing players 1, this guy will be plenty tanky. If you're playing players 8, you just have to make sure you stay engaged in the battle and that you have some sources of life leech, like the belt. I've got the ring, I've got the gloves, you know, I've got some sources. I've got mana leech on here. Make sure you have a couple sources, or you won't stay alive very long in players 8 without some life leech on you, right? Even with the phase blades, even though their damage seems pitiful, just get that life leech somewhere. You're gonna want it. It will help. So I think that's about all there is to say, and I think that's about all. Oh, sorry, there's one more item I wanted to try with you guys. This is one of my personal favorites. Oh yeah, there's two more items actually. This is the Cold Steel Eye, right? It's been double upgraded and sodded. It's a perfect roll as well. Again, it doesn't seem like much, but if you look at the mods, 50% deadly strike is amazing. You got the mana leech, you got the increased attack speed, you got hit blinds target, which is very nice, and the slow, right? Literally every single one of these mods on their own is very valuable, but together on one item is both rare and incredible. Its damage doesn't look like much, but when you consider that it doubles its damage every other hit with the 50% deadly strike built in, it's kind of an impressive item. You know, it's hard to overlook items like that. So we're gonna put all our buffs on here. We're gonna head over into the Frigid Highlands and see how it does. Maybe we'll use so it works really well with cleave. It's very quick, yeah. But it really shines with mirrored blades. Yeah. It's incredible. Players a complete wipeout. Nothing can survive the mirrored blades. So very powerful option. Just wanted you guys to be aware. If you can get it, if you find it, if you can get your hands on a Zod rune and you can bring the two together, You know, get a pull rune, get a lum rune, a perfect emerald, do the upgrade. I think you only need to upgrade it once, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's already like a mid-tier unique, so I think it only needs the one upgrade. Once or twice, I honestly can't remember, guys. I think just the one time. And like I said, ethereal is best for the damage. Zod rune, so then you never have to worry about repairs, right? And between its chance for deadly strike and everything else, another one would be like, I think it's called swordback. My god, what is it? Lightsaber something. Anyway, it's that one unique sword that gives like 100% deadly strike. It's based on character level. I really don't know why the name is escaping me right now. Maybe we've got one here to show you guys. No, I guess not. Anyway, again, mid-tier unique that does like max damage and deadly strike based on character level. When you can get those ethereal, and you can get a Zod rune in them, those would also be viable for this Mirrored Blades Cleave build. Promise you, they would do great. The last thing I wanted to try was this Plague. So the Plague is kind of interesting, right? It doesn't have much increased attack speed, just 20%, but because it's in a Phase Blade base, that's plenty. It has a proc of Poison Nova, which is quite generous at 25% to cast level 15. So this translates to basically constant Poison Nova proc. You get the Cleansing Aura rate on your character, which is nice. You don't have to have the Cure on your Mercenary. Then you get 2 dull skills, which on the Warlock is always welcome, increases your damage and all sorts of other things. You get decent enhanced damage, and then you get minus to enemy poison resist, which is helpful with the Poison Nova. And then you get a huge boost to deadly strike and even some open wounds. So there literally isn't a single stat on here that isn't just chef's kiss. Perfect, right? So let's go into the Frigid Highlands here. Actually, let's make a new game. This one's already been cleared. We'll go into the Frigid Highlands here. We've got our Plague on us now. We'll do all our pre-buffs here. Let's see how the Cleave does as well. Okay. So this is... it's just like I thought, guys. It's gonna be non-stop, non-stop Poison Novas. Very, very viable option. So the great thing too about Plague, which I didn't read to you guys the first time, is it also has a chance of lower resist when you're struck. So if you get in the middle of a pack, like say you're in cows, they're gonna proc that level 12 lower resist, and all of a sudden your constant Poison Nova procs are gonna actually hurt for quite a bit of damage. Not to mention that nothing will be able to recuperate its health while it's being hit by the Poison Nova, right? So sadly the lower resist doesn't help with magical damage, which like really it should, because it's like all resist, you know. But it does help with any sort of elemental damage you might have. Like you might decide to wear the Plague and then put on like a dual, what do you call them, the sorry guys, I'm at a loss for words. I just forget what they're called right now, but it's the rune words with Jaw, Paul, Yo, and you can wear like the helmet and the shield combo, and they both give you that paladin lightning aura with the damage, right? Holy lightning or whatever. Sorry, I'm holy shock, that's it. Okay. So you can do that, and then you can benefit from the lower resist. Sorry guys, I was having a total brain fart for a moment there. You could wear those two. You could also choose to wear something like Dragon Armor, which has a chance to proc Hydras, right? You could proc tons of Hydras, I'm sure. Just you could play around with fun stuff like that. Like, why not? You're basically a proc Warlock with Mirrored Blades and Phase Blade as a base, right? So it's awesome. And then I'm just curious to see with the Plague, how well does it do on the Cleave? Yeah, that's incredible. This is player's 8, no problem. Just absolute destruction. So I would venture to say that Plague is probably, in a phase blade, is probably contender for top pick in slot, best in slot for weapon for our Hex Bane or Bane Hexer, because then you have physical damage, you have your magical damage, and you have your poison damage from Poison Nova. So you're hitting for 3 different types of damage. So even though you're losing your amp damage from the Dreadfang, you don't need it, because if something is immune to your physical, it's not going to be immune to your magic and your poison, right? And then if it is immune to poison, it doesn't matter, because lower resist is going to proc sooner or later, and it's going to reduce their immunity, right? Or remove their immunity, I should say. You also have minus 23 built in right on the weapon, and you can like further that, right? You could put facets in your gear and things like that for poison damage. There's all sorts of ways you can extend and expand upon that poison damage. Just incredibly powerful weapon all around. Probably would be one of my top picks again if I had to say. I would definitely take it over both Grief and Last Wish, honestly. Plague, way cheaper, way more fun, I dare say way more effective, right? As far as how it feels in the gameplay, it feels like Death is actually, not Death, Plague is actually probably a top contender for just absolute best in slot. Oh, I see. I guess I had a Plague here ready for you guys already. Okay, we'll get rid of this extra one. 276. Yeah, this is better. Okay. Okay, last but not least, I wanted to try this very budget option here. Mania. This was introduced some patches ago, before Reign of the Warlock. All you need is Shalko Eld, very cheap, very easy to come across, right? And do we need a new game? Yes, we do, so we're going to make a new game. The reason why I'm excited about this option is because it actually gives you a decent amount of both damage and increased attack speed for a fair price, right? So if you guys will look here, I'll show you what I mean. So if you remember in my previous video, I made this custom, right? You'll notice that the damage is comparable. Sure, this has better minimum damage, right? Which I'm not sure why that is. That's kind of strange. But anyway, this has better minimum damage. 200 versus 195. By like a lot. That's so odd. Oh, this Mania is made in a dimensional blade, not a phase blade. No wonder. Okay, so the damage would be basically identical with this guy. Sorry, with... who was I comparing him with? Now I'm really tripping. 200% versus... Sorry guys, I can't remember which one I was comparing it with. What's the reason? Plague, maybe? No, because that's more than 250. Sorry guys, this video really went off the rails. I couldn't find which phase blade I was comparing with, but anyway, no matter. So this is a dimensional base, so it's actually a bad example, but if it was a phase blade base, right, the damage would be something like this Azarath, a little bit lower. But it would be around 100 to 100 and change, something like that, maybe just a little under, right? However, you get 30% increased attack speed, right, which is really high. You also get level 1 Fanaticism, which further increases your attack speed as well as your attack rating, and a 5% chance to cast level 1 Burst of Speed, which would further increase your attack speed. So this is to say, oh yeah, I remember what I was comparing it with, this very expensive one. Okay, sorry guys, I don't know why I lost my head for a minute there. So this very expensive base made with 4015 jewels is basically like this, except this only cost me a co-rune. So I mean, as far as the damage, it's the same, right? Again, this is the wrong base, so the damage would be the same. It'd be 93 to 105. And then the attack speed, even though this says 75 and this says only 30, when you factor in that Fanaticism adds attack speed, and burst of speed adds attack speed, it puts you basically right back around the same, right around the same point as this one. So I guess you could argue, depending what you put in this last slot, this might still be the better option, but this is incredibly expensive to make. These are all perfect jewels, cost you multiple burrs or jaws a piece, like just not worth it. This is incredibly cheap to make, right? So you're talking like a fractional difference between the two items. So let's just see how well this one performs. We'll get all our pre-buffs here. So yeah, especially once that burst of speed procs, which is just nice for mobility as well. You're very fast and it's very viable. This is player's 8. As you guys can see, I'm clearing it, no problem. Player's 8, getting cleared, no problem. Champions, no problem. Haven't even drank a potion yet. I'm about to now, but cleave. Okay, I just don't want to die. My poison resistance is abysmal at -15. But I think I've made my point. We'll just make a new game so I don't die there. I think I've made my point though. When you play the Hex Baner, right, you can even get by on a Mania, simple homemade homebrew solution, let's say, for your in slot, right? This has decent enough damage. It'll be better still when it's a phase blade. The minimum damage will be like 100 as well, and because this is dimensional, right? And it's huge increased attack speed between the fanaticism, burst of speed, and built-in 30%. And once you get that burst of speed procced, your guy will also move around much faster, as if you're wearing a Hysteria or an Enigma or something as your armor, right? It'll give you that like 40 to 50% feeling of like increased run walk. So overall, I'm not saying he's best in slot, but if we're talking budget options, like we're talking, you know, a step up from the 6-shelled phase blade we were exploring earlier, which is still feasible, I would say this is your next step up. It gives you a little bit more damage, a couple more stats, like, you know, 10 dexterity. It's still something. Bonus damage to undead, stuff like that, right? The level 1 fanaticism is also useful if you have like an Act 1 mercenary, any mercenary really, except for maybe Act 3 to some extent, will benefit from the fanaticism aura, right? So it's always nice to have. Even level 1, it's still something. Okay guys, I think that pretty much wraps up this video. I don't think I was gonna show you guys an ethereal version of this, but I can basically tell you right now, if you can get ethereal Razor's Edge and put a Zod rune, it's gonna slap, because it's very similar to that other sword I was showing you guys. Where's that at? It's in my cube, I think. No, it's very similar to this one, right? Where you have the 50% deadly strike and the minus to enemy armor and all this, the defense, same thing, right? The only difference being this one seems like it would be a little bit faster, and it also has the open wounds, which are missing from the other one. So it's a matter of preference. This one gives you open wounds. The sword gives you a little better damage and slow and blinds target and monosteel. So I don't know, I'm torn between the two. It's a little slower at 20%, but it also depends on the item base. Like maybe the Atgan is a lot faster than the Tomahawk. I'm just not sure on that, right? It's something you'd have to investigate for yourselves a little bit further. This worked wonderfully as well, as we saw. Pretty much any fanged knife will, because fanged knives have a very fast base. So it's going to pair up nicely with things like cleave and mirrored blades. Okay, that's it for now, guys. You know, we'll catch you in the next one as we continue to innovate the Warlock.